Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 434th film from 2021. It's the Nigerian drama called Swallow. This one's directed by Kunle Afolayan and stars Niyola, Deyemi Okanlawon, Chioma, Chukwuka, Akpotha, and Ijeoma Grace Agu. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thanks for joining me today. Apologies for the pronunciation of some of those names, but we are here for an international film. As always, if this is a film that you haven't seen before and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because as we go throughout this episode, we are going to spoil this film. So Swallow, if you haven't seen it, come back later. We're ready to get into it with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one, it's about a woman who struggles with a poverty-stricken, male-dominated society. There we go. And I might add in on the end there, and the temptation of a quick cash fix through drug smuggling. I didn't add that in the first place, and I have now, just because it does play a big part in the back end of this film. But I wouldn't say that, obviously the title Swallow is in relation to swallowing drugs to be able to smuggle them across the world, but also that idea of swallowing this hard society as well. What can we say about the making of this film? So this had the working title of the Untitled Sefi Atta Project, because this is an adaptation of a book written by Sefi Atta, and the screenplay was co-written by the author, as well as a playwright and the director, Kunle Afolayan. Principal photography took place in Ibadan, Oyo State in Nigeria, and the film was released on Nigerian Independence Day on Netflix worldwide on the 1st of October 2021. If we look around the world, what are some other translations, I guess, of the title around the world? So in Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian, it's called Hard to Swallow. That makes sense. In Hungarian, it's Life in Lagos. Very good. In Japanese, Swallowed by Darkness. I like the little hint there of something a little bit more sinister. In Russian and Ukrainian, it's called Across the Throat. I think that's probably a little bit of a mistranslation. In Chinese, it's called Devour, and in Turkish, it's called Two Women in Lagos. There we go, Two Women in Lagos. That makes sense as well. This was filmed in and around Lagos as well in Nigeria, and it was nominated for 6 awards, and it actually won one for Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Ijeoma Grace Agu at the African Movie Academy Awards, and she was also nominated at the Septimus Awards for Best African Actress. So there you go, some little positive thoughts, some little positive signs there from their home continent in relation to the release of this film. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? So on Rotten Tomatoes, this only has 3 critic reviews. 2 of them are fresh, 1 is rotten, so no consensus there, and there is no audience consensus either for this film. If we head over to IMDb, there's only 247 ratings. It sits at a 4.2 out of 10, so that's super low, and probably not an awful lot of people there. And then the same, I guess, on Letterboxd. It's only got 204 ratings. It sits at a 3.1 out of 5, super high, but not many ratings, and it's only been logged by 294 people. So I don't think many people have actually seen this film, and I guess that's my job now, is to get into my early thoughts and sort of suggest or not suggest whether other people should jump on and check this one out too. So what are my thoughts? I think it looks good, like the 1980s vibe, the city, the people, it's all shot really well. It's just that nothing really happens in the film, I guess, and it's a bit of a monotonous drawl at times that culminates in something that really should be impactful but isn't, because as an audience, unfortunately, you just don't care. And I think that's where this film is sort of let down a little bit, is with the final third act of this film. It's a bit of a letdown, to be honest. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it a little bit more. The director, Kunle Afolayan, 18 directing credits, including a film from 2020 called Citation, which we actually covered on this show because it is a Netflix original film as well. From memory, I wasn't a big fan of that one, so I'm not sure whether that's going to play out in this one as well. The characters in this film. Let's talk about the characters. So, Talani is the main protagonist. She is a secretary at a bank, I guess is the best way of putting it, and works in the same building as her best friend Rose, and they share an apartment as well. They're super close. Talani, I guess she's got to struggle with a lot. her best friend Rose is fired from her job, so she's put in her place in the work, and Talani's got to struggle with a lot of things in life, like a gross boss, a flaky boyfriend, this best friend Rose who's a bit materialistic, and the poverty of living in a big city too. So these are all some challenges that she needs to overcome. If we talk about Rose, her best friend, she gets caught up in this temptation of drug smuggling to escape poverty, and she comes across as desperate, but also knowing exactly what she wants. And she meets this guy called OC, I guess, who's this drug smuggler boss, and she gives him his address, but she comes off a bit desperate because she actually tracks him down to his place herself. And I think she's able to stand her own ground. She's done this in her workplace. She's done this with this boss at stages, this drug lord boss at stages too. But unfortunately, doesn't really listen to what Talani has to say either. Sanwo is Talani's dropkick boyfriend, I guess. She's frustrated with him because they've been together for so long and he hasn't asked her to marry him. And I think the issue here is that she keeps going back to him. She trusts him enough to lend her life savings to him, but he gets conned out of it himself, further frustrating her in this world of men that Talani can't depend on as well. Even though he has a little bit of a redemptive arc towards the end, it's sort of irrelevant, to be honest. Violet is a confidant for Rose. I think it's her sister, to be honest, but she often bails her out with money and seems to be this one female character who's successful in this world of the film. She runs her own hairdresser shop. She gives good advice. She seems to be successful in her own right, whereas most of the others are struggling with what's going on around them, including Franca, who works at the office that Talani and Rose work at. She's this gossip, I guess, around the office who does little for Rose or Talani in respect to girl power or working together. She's always the one that sort of throws them under the bus with rumour spreading. The same with a few other people at the office. Ignatius is he's meant to be the trusted old person in the office, but still not trusted enough to actually look out for his colleagues or these girls or report the harassment or further progress their complaints up the chain. Godwin's another one at the office, is this born-again Christian who tries to get Talani to his faith services, but I guess he does give her the opportunity to rekindle the thoughts of what her father had taught her about faith and religion as well a little bit too. And I guess this ties in a little bit with the director, Kunle Afolayan, who actually plays this character. He puts on this suit and this wig, and it's a bit of a cameo playing this pastor in this church that they go to as well. And you've got to highlight too, I think, that the director, Afolayan, he is known for casting non-actors from a lot of his work as well, and the same thing happens here where most of these characters are played by singers too. Some other characters, we'll finish off, I guess, with OC. This is that rich drug dealer that Rose falls for because he seems to be able to pay for her to move out of poverty and that enticement from her to do whatever she needs to do to better herself as well. All right, the only other gross character in this film is Soloko, which is Rose's boss. She hits him, he harasses her, he fires her, he moves Talani into her position so he can do the same to her. So he's just another gross male character in this film. Let's talk about the scenes, what worked, what didn't work in this film. So stuff that worked, the things that worked. The opening credits, they look cool. They were like these chrome-like images, drawings. That was really good. Throughout the film, they're peppered throughout are some Football World Cup moments that are sprinkled to highlight the happy moments that even though that poverty overcomes a lot of people in this film, the joint unity of goals being scored and happiness, that's really done well throughout the film. As well as some shots of the city Lagos, the traffic, the people, the markets. It's also vibrant and shot so well as well. There's this kid called Ayo that Talani always looks out for in their sort of community housing block, and there's this idea that he falls into a septic tank, and the community sort of gets upset and mourns for him, including his mother, and I thought that was all done well. Maybe not the fact that Talani just found him by the side of the road. That sort of ruined it a bit, but I like the fear that it created in this community and the connection they all had together. Some things that didn't necessarily work. I get the non-linear storytelling of Talani going home at the start of the film to tell her mother and tell her story, but throughout the film, there's these constant black and white flashbacks to make sure the audience understands they're a part of Talani's father's memories. It didn't do much for me. I wasn't a huge fan of that as well. The OC character, the drug lord, the abuse that he throws or verbalizes towards Rose, I think he said something like, "I've slept with better men than you." It was just lame. I did like that she confronted him and told him, "Don't insult me like that again," but I just didn't know how that was needed, because I think he's already sending her down this pathway, this bad pathway as it was, especially through her actually smuggling drugs. And Rose at the airport, sweating to get through passport control, being stressed about being caught, and then on the plane, sweating it out, obviously knowing that the drug bag's probably popped inside her. She's going to overdose. It was a bit of a letdown. It didn't land, especially moments later where Talani is going to visit the mama lady in the housing block, and there's a headline on the paper she's reading of drug mule dying mid-flight. It's just too obvious a reveal before Talani found out, even though as an audience we knew that already. The themes, the ideas, what's this film trying to say? Poverty plays a huge part in this film, and the corruption of those who have respected professions at times, I guess, versus those who have no money or who face harder times, and that idea of being tired of being poor and constantly being taken advantage of by those higher up in the system than you. That plays throughout as well, through that idea of the patriarch and the system and misogyny and harassment at work and the treatment of women that men in this society think should just be accepted. And I think there's a line there from Talani's mum that says, "The only way to prove our dignity is to take care of ourselves from men." So that plays in with that idea too. The drug trade in the back end plays a big part, because it highlights the impacts it has on people for not only using drugs, but those lured in to transport it as well. I said this before, but that FIFA World Cup playing a big moment in the background at a variety of times. The love of sport that can bring happiness to those that are struggling the most. Faith, again, is highlighted, the hope that it gives to so many, but also the corruptness of those that lead it at times, and sometimes that falling back on cultural beliefs and cultural faiths and witchcraftery. I think that's what was happening at the end. That's there as well. And Lagos, that big city and its dangers versus the comfort and protection of home communities and mothers, where Talani goes towards the end. What else did I take away from this film? I think the audio mix on this was so bad at times. It was so noticeably clear. The first time I thought maybe I was just mishearing the characters, but I think it happened at least 3 times, and it's just not good enough that you don't fix that in post-production, the sound on that. It was really bad. Some questions, some pondering, some thoughts to finish this off. Talani, she goes home to her village to confide in her mother about how bad her life is, and I think the title on the screen says it's August 1985, I think it was. And then she sits with her mother to tell her story, and then it flashes back 1 month to July. All this happened in a month. It felt a little bit off, to be honest, that it's just a month, and if you're going to do that, you got to make time progress a bit longer than that. That idea too, I think, about how far you would go to get by, and we see this through Rose, the character of wanting to get by doing something that's highly illegal and dangerous, but the idea that Talani plays on of keeping your dignity intact. She wants to keep her dignity intact, even though she reports her bosses and all her colleagues talk her down. So that idea is there as well. There's so many good little stories of the struggles throughout this film too, of mothers and keeping the family home throughout. I think I probably would have liked some more emphasis on this, because they're such vibrant characters that we see, especially that idea. I think it was where was it? There was one of the ladies was talking about the idea of what owning a car means, and all the strict regulations and rules about the times and the days that you're allowed to drive, all depending on your status. Those little conversations just highlighted to me some little things about different cultures that I really enjoyed, and I would have liked more of those throughout the film too. The status, I guess too, and this probably plays on that too. The status of drinking wine, the alcoholic beverage, instead of beer, because it's seen as upper class. I was sitting there going, come on, you can get some pretty expensive beers, but obviously that idea that the drinking beer is the cheap alcohol, and Rose is brought into line by OC to drink wine, because that shows you're living a better life. And I think it was the character Ignatius, his tie around his neck at work. Why was it always so short? It was just so off-putting at times. You'd see that his tie was sort of halfway down his body. It just looked weird. Anyway, other than that, let's wrap this one up. We give the film a rating out of 5 on this show. For me, the big issue with the film, I think, is there's no emotional impact. Like I said at the start, it looks good. It tries to play with some good ideas, which we've discussed, but you sort of need an emotional connection for this to resonate with you. And unfortunately, the big conclusion with Rose dying, it just doesn't land, and I didn't feel anything, which is sad. So it's competently made. It just didn't land with me. So I'm giving this a 2.5 out of 5. We're on socials. We have X, formerly known as Twitter. We've got Facebook and Instagram. Give us a follow. Give us a like if you can. The question that I wanted to ask in relation to this episode is, the idea is anything permanent in life? This is a quote from Talani's dad in one of the flashbacks. What's permanent in life? Is anything permanent, or is life what it is because it's constantly changing and evolving and revolving and changing too? So I like that to finish off. Other than that, we are back next week with another 2021 film. This time, it is a slasher film called There's Someone Inside Your House. This one's directed by Patrick Bryce and stars Sydney Park, Theodore Pellerin, Aisha Cooper, Jesse LaTourette, and Diego Joseph. So give that one a watch. Come back next week. Join in for that one. As always, appreciate your time for following along, and I will see you next week.